Hi all, this is Once a Future Gamer and welcome to another Pokemon challenge. This is a big one, number 150, and it's time to get started. I mulled over this one for quite a while, but join me as I see if I can beat Pokémon Fire Red with a team of only gift Pokemon. The rules are on the screen throughout. What I'm considering a gift Pokemon is anything that is given to me through my actions. So I can't catch anything to use on my battle team. Probably not be the hardest run I've ever done, but it's a sort of milestone, so I want to have some fun after a few pretty tough runs. There is no need to randomise in a new starter for this run, though there are a few quality of life bits on this file, like running inside buildings and impossible evolutions. I want the option. I simply pick Bulbasaur and I run right on. I'm not going to get any new Pokemon for a while, so probably best to take the starter that gives me the simplest start to the game. The opening rival battle is pretty straightforward. I'm facing him the way he's meant to be faced after all. Starter versus starter. Pokemano y Pokemano. It's a close battle. We both only have basic attacks, but we get growled a few times and it hurts our attack stat. I'm not sure if it is worse at this level or not when we have so low starts to start with. Maybe it is, that's a thought for the future. Anyway, we do eventually take him down with 1 HP left, so that was about as close as it could reasonably be. I'm sure there will be harder battles ahead, but we'll be fighting him on a level playing field going forward. I am travelling now, so gift Pokemon. Just ahead of the YouTube search later, I imagine this has been done before, but I just fancied doing something slightly different for somewhat of a milestone. I mean, I'm getting this out of the way. I might not need it for the most part. I am still going to catch some stuff for the Pokédex reward items, the Flash HM, the Experience Share, the Item Finder, etc. Because, after all, it's about not using them in battle, never mind what I do out in the field. For the HMs, I mean, if I want to fly, I think I need to catch something for it, since I don't think there's a gift Pokemon that learns fly in this game. No, I'm wrong there. Now I think about it, I'm wrong on that. And regarding the Flash HM, I know you can navigate Rock Tunnel without it. I know some challenges do, but I prefer not to have that negativity in my life. The challenge of this run is not how quickly can I clear Rock Tunnel while fumbling around in the dark. I don't doubt I can complete this run because we could end up with a pretty decent team. Anyway, we started with Bulbasaur. We'll have Brock ahead, so that shouldn't be an issue. Misty or Surge probably shouldn't be issues either. The rival fights will probably be the trickiest. We don't get other team members for a bit. I might even skip over Surge until I have some more team members I'll need to train up, and I'll head over to Celadon where things can get really fun as soon as I can. I'm getting really ahead of myself though. As you might have expected, Brock is not a difficult opponent. We have Vine Whip by this point. He has 2 Pokemon Quad Weak to Grass. This might have been a little harder in later generations because Vine Whip became physical, I believe, but here it is a special move. Geodude and Onix both have low special defense, and we wreck them both to take the badge and move on. Moving towards Mount Moon then, I could actually get another gift Pokemon if I wanted to from the Pokemon Center outside because there's a Magikarp for sale there. I don't think it does us any good. It would be a lot of time training it up, and we do get other water types in this run, so I don't consider it important. I'm also going to try and avoid the Game Corner Pokemon. I'm not saying I will, but I'm not considering them a huge priority. Although, to be fair, I'd argue they qualify more as a gift Pokemon than the Celadon Eevee, which feels like we break in and steal. How is that any different to what the rival does in Gen 2 with his starter? Anyway, Bulbasaur also evolves while we're travelling. I mean, you could imagine buying the Game Corner Pokemon is not a gift Pokemon, but what if you bought it and gave it to somebody else? It becomes a gift Pokemon then. What if it's a gift for yourself? In Mount Moon, I actually had the choice between the 2 fossils, and this is a tough choice because once I get to Cinnabar, I can actually revive the fossils. They are fair game here to be used. Not sure I will because there's other water or rock types available, but the option is there. Depending on your choices, you could actually go through these games and build a gift team of 5 water types potentially. In Cerulean City, I do make a try on the rival when I get to town, but between Pidgeotto with Sand Attack and Charmander with Ember, this turns out to be a bit of an obstacle. I'm not saying I couldn't cheese the fight with enough efforts. I mean, I think sleep powder on Pidgeotto is almost certainly the way to go, but I might as well go make a try on Misty while I'm here, get a few more levels on Ivysaur and make the fight a bit easier when it comes to it. So, I'm not going to lie, this is actually one of the easier Misty fights that I've ever had. I mean, I suppose there is a reason that picking Bulbasaur in Kanto is considered easy mode. And also, as well, it is worth remembering that since I have Ivysaur, that's a way better Pokemon than what I normally use in runs most of the time. Staryu is a one-shot with Razor Leaf, Starmie is a two-shot with Razor Leaf. We only get clipped with Swift in exchange, and that gives us the victory. Anyway, going back to the rival then. It takes a few tries, but I get this run where we sleep powder Pidgeotto, but of course it doesn't stay asleep anywhere near long enough, which pretty annoying. We are hitting tackles before it wakes up and sand attacks us. Gusts don't do a huge amount of damage, but they are a noticeable danger, and we lose nearly half our health to Pidgeotto before taking it down and Charmander comes out. We land a tackle and a Razor Leaf on Charmander while taking damage, and then an Ember drops us onto the 5 HP mark, and I think we're probably losing. Overgrow kicks in, but we take it out with Razor Leaf. If he'd sent Rattata in next, we'd probably have lost, but he goes for Abra. So, I Leech Seed Abra and then basically let the Leech Seed take it out, wasting turns with Sleep Powder, all while we slowly recover health. It's not the most glamorous way to win a fight, but I couldn't face Rattata while nearly down, since it has priority quick attack. We gain half our health back versus Abra, and it's handy versus Rattata, since when it comes to that battle, we miss not one, not two, but 3 Razor Leaf attacks in a row versus it, and well, it's a good job we have the health to survive attacks coming the other way. The 4th Razor Leaf lands, we take it out. I'm still bustling on then, making my way towards Bill's house. My plan is to go do the SSN rival fight, get knocked out there so that the ship doesn't leave, then I'll head up to the rock tunnel, fight as few trainers as I can as I make my way towards Celadon. Once I make it to Celadon, I'll have the map open up, I can potentially access 2 more Pokemon. Plus, if I really wanted to do the Game Corner options, I'd have them there. There's 2 gifts in Saffron City, but one I know I'll not be able to get for a while. And for the other 2 gift Pokemon, I need to beat the Poison Gym to make it to Cinnabar. Again, the Poison Gym seems a very long way off. The SSN rival fight takes a few tries, and it's not often that I say that. To be fair, I am holding back somewhat with the levelling because I will have other stuff to level up in the future, so I want as many trainers available as possible so I'm not grinding on wild Pokemon. He begins with Pidgeotto and we Sleep Powder straight away before we land tackles and Razor Leaf attacks to start inflicting damage on it. There's not much in it damage wise, to be honest. It does wake up at the end and hit Gust, but we've won the round with 1 more hit, so it's not deadly. Kadabra is second, it barely survives Razor Leaf and hits Kinesis before we take it out with Tackle. Charmeleon is third, we put it to sleep with Sleep Powder, and then we do back-to-back crits. 1 with a Tackle, 1 with a Razor Leaf, and we take it down for the count without any damage coming our way. Raticate is last, it survives Razor Leaf and hits us with Tail Whip, but we take it out with Tackle to give us the win. On the road, Ivysaur evolves into Venusaur. Now, this is normally where I do the trivia, but I don't really have a stack of trivia to go for about gift Pokemon as we're traversing the rock tunnel, so I guess this is just a spot for me to do some musing. I know this is probably not going to turn out to be the hardest run I've ever done, but I've had some hard ones recently. Check out the Alolan Vulpix run if you want to see what some pain looks like. And even the one between that and this, the Heart Gold with Gibble run. That was surprisingly brutal in spots. So I wanted something interesting to get my teeth into and something a little bit different. I've done a lot of DS era challenges in the last few months and I want to break away from that for a bit because they're a lot more mentally draining. So you probably won't see any for a few months now, not unless something really interesting comes to mind. Lots of Gens 2 and 3 runs probably. I mean, I do enjoy doing Gen 1 challenges, but it does become pretty limited after a while. There's only really a small pool of Pokemon to pick from, relatively speaking, and most of them are probably too strong for challenge runs to be intriguing. About the only sort of wrench is if they have crap movesets to bring them down. I did watch a Red with Aerodactyl run recently, which was just that. Well, I say recently, it was probably in the last 6 months, and I needed to do something a bit different to make it a bit more fun for me. Single Pokemon runs do get a bit repetitive. I do try to space it out a bit more. I need to work out exactly what my 2026 schedule actually looks like. And also, this is the 150th challenge I've done, so what exactly do you do for that milestone? What does that milestone look like? Go difficult or go big? And I suppose doing a team run is going big. In Celadon City, I go into, I have no idea what that building is meant to be, the tenement or whatever it is. It's where the Game Freak offices are. A pretty interesting decision. Can you imagine if every game franchise did that? Had a rendition of their developers' offices in their games. Anyway, I get the Eevee and evolve it into Jolteon. With Jolteon in hand, I head back to Vermilion and go to face off with Surge for the 3rd badge. I figure Jolteon may make this fight interesting, since we have the Volt Absorb ability, which means that we become immune to electric attacks. Most of them. So that Shockwave in Raichu isn't going to be too much of an issue. He begins with Voltorb. We get hit with Screech and Tackle, which, not ideal. It does cost us some of our health, but we can free shot with Quick Attack to take it down. Voltorb is never really Surge's most dangerous Pokemon, to be fair. Pikachu is a 2-shot with Quick Attack, but it does paralyse us with Thunder Wave. Why that ignores Volt Absorb is pretty annoying for sure, and it does hit us with a Quick Attack of its own. Raichu is last, and I suppose I should have brought Venusaur in to Leech Seed, but I didn't, and it spams Double Team as we try to hit Quick Attacks. This takes a while, I'm not going to lie, through us being paralysed and Raichu spamming Double Team. But thanks to a crit, it doesn't take as long as I thought, and we get the 3rd badge. In Saffron City, I beat the Karate Master, and he gives us the option of another gift Pokemon, and it's a choice between Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee. I took Hitmonchan in case you were wondering. Actually, ask away, comments, YouTube algorithms, etc. Kidding. I mean, I don't particularly think either of them are fantastic Pokemon, but I suppose I like Hitmonchan marginally more than Hitmonlee. I rarely get to use either, so it's a nice experience. Obviously, I'll not be using the elemental punches since our special attack is terribly bad. After some training, I go do the Lavender Town rival fight, and it's much more of a fair fight now. He begins with Pidgeotto. I send in Jolteon to begin the battle. Although we get hit with a Quick Attack, we take Pidgeotto out with Shockwave. Gyarados is second. Brave choice for sure, and we one-shot with Shockwave. Execute is third, and this is probably the one I struggled with the most out of this team. Jolteon's Quick Attack doesn't do much damage before we get hit with Hypnosis. I switch into Venusaur. We land a Tackle before being put to sleep for several turns, which I'll admit isn't entirely ideal. We lose nearly half our health to being hit with repeated confusions, although eventually we do wake up, and when we do, we can take Execute out with another Tackle. Kadabra goes down to a single Razor Leaf, and when Charmeleon comes out, I send in Hitmonchan to rough it up. We land a Mach Punch but get burned by an Ember, and at that point I remember we have Rock Slide on Hitmonchan, and we take Charmeleon out with that move for the win. I head back over to Celadon and enter the game corner, determined that I'm going to take out Giovanni next. I'm not expecting this to be problematic. Between Hitmonchan and Venusaur, we should be able to body his team. I send Hitmonchan to fight Onyx, and we one-shot with Sky Uppercut. Onyx has decent defense, so I'm surprised, but then again, we have decent attack and a level advantage. Rhyhorn is a one-shot with Sky Uppercut, and last is Kangaskhan, who actually survives Sky Uppercut and hits us with a weak bite. Not very effective non-stab special move from a non-special attacker versus something with good special defense, and we finish with Mach Punch. Exploring Pokemon Tower, I'm thinking about the next bit of the game. I'm still trying to hold back on most of the major fights until I can get most of my team together. There are a few areas my current team isn't going to be fantastic against, and unfortunately I think Koga might be one of them. There's a hefty level jump from here to there. Venusaur will struggle to hurt his team too much, Hitmonchan's stab won't do us much good, and Jolteon still needs a bit of work. But hey, at least the Ghastly here give us special attack EVs for Jolteon. I'm mostly focusing on doing Koga next, although I suppose I want to ask the question that, with 3 Pokemon at about the mid-30 level, I wonder if we can win the Sylph rival fight. That will give us another gift Pokemon, and so I head into Sylph just on the off chance. Maybe we do it, maybe we don't. He begins with Pidgeot, and although we can two-shot with Jolteon's Shockwave, we do lose half our health to a pair of quick attacks. He goes for Gyarados second, and at least this time we do outspeed and one-shot with Shockwave. Execute is third, and we fire some pin missiles at it. But despite the move being quad super effective, it doesn't do much damage. I blame the Intimidate from Gyarados. We do get hit with a Stun Spore and a few confusions, leaving us weak, but we do eventually strike another pin missile and a few quick attacks to bring Execute down, but we are on red health by the time it does go down. Alakazam is fourth, and if it actually attacked us, Jolteon might have gone down, but it only ever wastes time with Future Sight. Meanwhile, we're firing off pin missiles and quick attacks and shockwaves. The last shockwave crits and takes Alakazam out. Charizard is last, but we get blasted by Future Sight and go down. I send Hitmonchan in. Charizard outspeeds and hits Wing Attack, but then it survives Rock Slide and Mach Punch before taking Hitmonchan out with another Wing Attack. I send Venusaur in, and somehow we outspeed and finish Charizard with Tackle. And with that, I get my Lapras. And this is probably the reason I didn't pick Squirtle at the start or evolve Eevee into Vaporeon. I could have evolved Eevee into Flareon, but Fire isn't entirely useful in Kanto, especially not since we probably wouldn't get many decent Fire moves, and with all Fire moves being special, I don't think Flareon makes best use of it in these games, just saying. Anyway, I train up a bit and then go after Koga. I think we should probably have enough to overcome him now, and it will really open the game up once I do. He begins with Coughing, and I send Hitmonchan in, since I'm not sure how useful he'll be the rest of the fight, but at least he can fight the Coughing. We land 2 Rock Slides and force it into healing range, but we also get hit with 2 Sludges, which take out nearly half our health. We get him to burn a Hyper Potion, at least, before we land 3 more Rock Slides, one of them getting a flinch and taking Coughing down. Muck comes in second. Always an irritant, this boy. We miss a Rock Slide and it goes to Minimise before we connect with a Rock Slide and it goes for Minimise again. We hit another Rock Slide, it buffs its defences with Acid Armour. We miss Rock Slide and get poisoned by Sludge. Our last stat is to connect with Mach Punch before going down. Jolteon comes in, we land Shockwave but get poisoned by Toxic, and Koga duly heals with his second Hyper Potion. I then go on the Shockwave offensive, blasting Muck with them repeatedly, all while the poison wears us down. Shockwave ignores both Acid Armour and Minimise, which is incredibly handy. 4 Shockwaves are enough to bring Muck down, but Jolteon has lost a lot of health to Toxic and will continue to do so. Coughing number 2 survives Shockwave on a Slither and takes Jolteon out with Sludge. Lapras comes in and we take Coughing down with Surf. Wheezing is last, we go for Perish Song, I have it, might as well use it. We do trade Confuse Ray with Smokescreen and Sludge, and then I switch Lapras out for Venusaur. We miss a Sleep Powder, we get hit with Sludge, and then Perish Song takes Wheezing out. 4 badges down. I've still got Erica to beat, I know. On to Cinnabar Island then, and I can get both Ammonite and Aerodactyl resurrected, which gives me my final 2 team members. It's definitely not a bad team this, to be fair. Although it does beg the question about the level scaling, since Eevee and the Hitmons are both gotten at level 25 and they are at about the mid-game stage. The fossils are at level 5 and are closer to the end game. Mind you, I suppose they are effectively making them live again, just like being born again, so if you consider what level Pokemon were at when they hatched from eggs in this game, just saying, I suppose it makes a certain degree of sense, but I need to train them up now. This is not necessarily something I want to do right now at this point in the game, but hey, it's something I planned for at least. I'm also filling in my decks to get the experience share, which will make it a lot easier. I'm playing in set mode, so switch training is not a fun thing at this point. I've got Erica, Giovanni, Sabrina, Blaine and Giovanni again to go through in any order. I think I'll train Aerodactyl up a bit, then face off with Erica, and I'll clear Sylph out and beat Giovanni. With that, I'll probably do Sabrina, and with any luck, by the time it comes to Blaine, I should have a mostly even level-wise team. Omanite and Omastar, if he's evolved by then, might be useful for Blaine, since it will quad resist his stab, but even so, I think we should have enough. Erica then. She begins with Victory Bell, and I send in my slightly underleveled Aerodactyl to face off with that. This starts off great as we outspeed and go into the air with Fly, but when our attack connects, we don't quite one-shot and duly get hit with Stun Spore. Erica then heals and we're back at square one. We connect with another Fly, which has been surprisingly accurate throughout so far. I always feel like Fly feels like it's way less accurate than 95% and finish Victory Bell with Strength, despite getting hit with Giga Drain. Tangela hits Giga Drain and we're fully paralysed, so I switch into Lapras. Seems brave, but I think we'll tank a hit, which we do. Giga Drain doesn't do a huge amount of damage to us and we take Tangela out with Ice Beam. Vileplume, Outlast, is also a one-shot with Ice Beam. 5 badges down. Moving through Sylph then, I'd normally do Channel Talk at this point, but you might have noticed that, barring the last few challenges, there's not been much lately posted onto the channel. I've not been feeling inclined to upload playthroughs. I've been playing a lot of stuff personally. I played the Insomniac Spider-Man games, the first one and the Miles Morales one, over the festive period. I'd been putting some time in on Elden Ring after that, neither of which I felt the need to record. I've not been opening TCG products and probably won't be again either. It's become a very expensive hobby and one I can't really justify sustaining to myself for the sake of a chemical rush. Challenge wise, I'm writing this on the 2nd of January and I still haven't plotted my outline of the year. I've got the next few lined up, but I'm not really thinking too much further ahead than that. What I do know is that my next challenge is going to be an Emerald one. It's one I've been looking forward to doing for a while. It's going to be Pokemon Emerald with a single Marrow. I used Marrow in one of my first ever challenges and I'm going back to it. Yeah, I looked it up. 3rd ever challenge, Pokemon Silver with Marrow, right after Pokemon Pearl with Glameow and Pokemon Black with Mienfoo. I don't know why I felt the need to do Mienfoo as my second challenge, but it felt right at the time. With hindsight, I don't even know why Glameow felt right to do the first challenge with. I suppose it felt like these were Pokemon that not many people thought of as existing at the point. I mean, Glameow is definitely a forgotten Pokemon. I mean, maybe it's become a bit more into the conscious lately because it was in Legends Arceus, but even then, I still think if you gave people a list of Pokemon and asked them to write it down, I think Glameow would be quite far down the list. I mean, I know every Pokemon somewhere is somebody's favourite, but hey, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this and you're a Glameow fan, comments down below please. Same if you're a Mienfoo fan, I guess, but yeah. It's strange looking back on those early challenge videos because very different to what I've got now in terms of layout. I mean, there's probably an argument to say I'm due a new layout at some point because I think this is like the 3rd layout I've used through my time, so that's something I may look to revisit in the future, but I don't know. I mean, I kind of like the layout that I've got. It's there, it exists, I'd say I don't want to use the phrase classic, but it's there. Anyway, Giovanni then, and we should be fine. He begins with Nidorino and I send in Jolteon. We do get hit with a Poison Sting at the middle of the clash, but we can take Nidorino out with 2 Shockwaves for an easy win. Nidoqueen is second, and I know Jolteon isn't doing anything here, so I send in Lapras. We do get struck with a Poison Sting and a Body Slam, but we can ultimately 2-shot Nidoqueen with Surf, and I'm surprised it took 2. Rhyhorn is third, we 1-shot with Surf, and Outlast is Kangaskhan. We get hit with Fake Out and Tail Whip. I'm feeling vengeful, so we go for Perish Song and Confuse Ray, but we get clocked with Mega Punch. I switch into Venusaur and we do land a cut, but only get struck with 2 Tail Whips, and it's duly enough to run down the clock, and Perish Song takes Kangaskhan out. Probably didn't need to do that, but nah. I suppose I might as well tackle Sabrina while I'm in town. I can't see her being too much of an issue. Well, I suppose there is the potential for things to go wrong, but we should be fine. I sent Venusaur out first to face Kadabra. We hit a Razor Leaf and Kadabra goes for Calm Mind. We then miss a cut and Kadabra goes for Future Sight, but we do take it out with Cut at the second attempt. Mr. Mime is a 2-shot with Cut, the second being a crit, and out third is Alakazam. We land 2 cuts on that while it goes for a Calm Mind and then absolutely wrecks us with a Psychic that one-shots us from full health. I send Jolteon in, Sabrina heals up, but it doesn't do her any good as we land 2 sets of Pin Missile attacks on Alakazam that do a combined total number of hits enough to bring it down. Last is Venomoth, and although we do get hit with a Psybeam, we can 2-shot with Shockwave and that takes it out. Anyway, I am exploring now and doing a last bit of levelling as I head through the Pokemon Mansion, doing some training with Omanyte since I think it might be useful. It's weird that I have both water and rock overlap in my team, but oh well, these things happen. Again, can't remember if I ever, and I mean ever, used Omastar on a run or a playthrough. I don't just mean on the channel, I mean ever. I know I did a challenge run with Kabuto a long time ago. That would be, quite possibly, the only reason I didn't pick the Dome Fossil in this run. That was Yellow with Kabuto, which was recorded and posted in February 2023. Feels like an eternity ago. Omanyte does evolve, and that's who I open with versus Blaine. I've also taught Omastar Surf ahead of this fight since it's probably the best water move we get access to. Way better than Hydro Pump, which I'm sure we're going to get as well. He begins with Growlithe, and although we are intimidated, we one-shot with Surf. Arcanine is second, we get intimidated again and hit with Bite, but we one-shot with Surf. Wasn't expecting that. Ponyta does hit Fire Blast and burn us, but we one-shot with Surf before Rapidash is last. We get hit with another Fire Blast, but can one-shot with Surf. Okay, that was ridiculously easier than I thought it'd be. I'm puttering about in the Sevi Islands now, taking the chance to get some extra levels ahead of the next bit of the game. I highly doubt that we'll need them for Giovanni, since we should have more than enough to get over on him, but the rival fight and the Elite Four will probably prove to be more solid battles. That said, we still managed to overcome the rival at Sylph while outnumbered and underleveled, so we could be fine. I guess we'll have to see how that plays out. I think with Giovanni, I think the Nidos will be the hardest opponents of his, but everyone else should be relatively smooth sailing. See, I didn't need to use the Game Corner Pokemon after all. Now imagine if I was throwing Dragonite or Alakazam into the mix, or Cypher/Caesar. That seems like it would make things somewhat easier, especially the Alakazam. But we're running with what we're running with, and I quite like the team that we've got. Anyway, Giovanni, like I said, not expecting this to be hard. He begins with Rhyhorn number 1 and I send in Lapras. Getting hurt with a rock move would hurt, but we are faster and one-shot with Surf. Rhyhorn number 2 doesn't do any better and we take it out with a Surf. Third is Nidoqueen and we one-shot with Surf. Nidoking does hit us with Earthquake, but we brush it off and land a Surf to take it out in one shot. Dugtrio also hits Earthquake, but we take it out in one shot with Surf, and with that, 8 badges down. Moving on to the Route 22 rival fight. Hey, I didn't do this earlier in the run. Oh well. He begins with Pidgeot, and I send out Jolteon. We get hit with Quick Attack, and then do massive damage with Shockwave. I misjudge the damage range, and Pidgeot survives our Quick Attack, hitting us with a Quick Attack of its own, and then we take it out with a second Quick Attack of our own. We were getting hit there regardless, I guess. Rhyhorn is second, I switch into Lapras, and we have to tank a takedown, and then we one-shot with Surf. Execute is third. I remember we have Ice Beam, and we one-shot with that move to move on to the battle with Alakazam. It goes for Calm Mind, we strike Surf before it hits Disable. I had switched to Ice Beam though to do decent damage, and although we lose a lot of health to Psychic, we take Alakazam out with Ice Beam. Gyarados is 5th and goes to Rain Dance. I just keep striking Ice Beams since it's the only move that will do damage to it that we've got. We do get hit with Hydro Pump. This is not a Water Absorb Lapras, unfortunately, but Gyarados misses a 2nd Hydro Pump and a 3rd Ice Beam takes it down. Charizard is last, Surf is no longer disabled, the rain is up, we survive Slash, but a single Surf isn't enough to one-shot Charizard and it survives on a Slither before taking Lapras out with Slash. I send Omastar in, we tank a Flamethrower and take Charizard out in our one solitary hit. This wasn't too bad, but I bet the next one is really harder. Okay, moving through Victory Road then, looking ahead to the Elite Four. I want to get everyone on my team to level 50 before I make my first attempt. So much training ahead. Lorelei could go either way. I've taught Jolteon and Lapras Thunderbolt for some extra power and some extra coverage. I've also taught Hitmonchan Bulk Up. I was thinking about the Bulk Up suite for Hitmonchan for Lorelei, but I think Slowbro might hard stop that, so it's just a case of how the rest of the team goes. Bruno we should be able to do reasonably well versus. We have counters for his Onyxes, we have a strong flying type for his fighting types. However, a third of our team is weak versus fighting though. Agatha I predict might be tricky since we won't have a fantastic way to damage her ghost types, so we're going to have to try and brute force her, which not always a fun prospect. I am actually reasonably confident about Lance since Lapras might be the great equaliser here, but I still need to be careful of Aerodactyl. And the champion fight is the champion fight. What more can I say? I did do the YouTube search, I did mention at the start of the video, I bet this challenge has been done before. Yeah, turned out I was right, it has. At least 3 times by what I could find. I didn't do a huge deep dive into this, but there were 3 attempts among the early results and I think that's quite telling. At the Indigo Plateau, here are our stats and movesets, all at level 50. As I've said throughout, it's not like this is a bad team really. I mean, just looking at the base stat totals, Venusaur and Jolteon have 525, Lapras has 533, Aerodactyl has 515, Omastar has 495 and Hitmonchan is the weakest at 455, but that's still way better than most Pokemon I ever use in challenges. Ignoring the gimmick runs I've done, Slacking, Raging Gigas, Archeops, I suppose you could include Kamala in there, I've used just Stantler and Tropius that are both higher base stat totals, but I'd make the argument that Hitmonchan is more optimised than either of those two, particularly Tropius, which, in my opinion, is one of those Pokemon that does a lot of things, but not many of them well. Anyway, I've gone off topic. Take your guesses on if we can do it at this level or not. Right, now folks, let's do this. Ice Trainer Lorelei is first. She begins with Dewgong and I bulk up with Hitmonchan, going for 2 of them, while she hits us with Surf and also puts the Hail up. Hitmonchan is quite special defensively bulky though, so we weather the Surf before clattering Dewgong out with a Sky Uppercut. Slowbro is second, I hit Rock Slide, but despite being +2 in attack, it does less than half our opponent's health. We get hit with Yawn and another Rock Slide puts Slowbro on red health. I know a heal is coming, so I bulk up again in hope that we can survive the sleep pretty quickly. We don't, we get taken out with Surf very quickly. I send Jolteon in, we blast Slowbro with Thunderbolt, it survives on a Slither and hits Surf, doing over half our health in damage, but we take it out with Quick Attack. Cloyster is a one-shot with Thunderbolt before 4th is Jinx. We land Pin Missile and Thunderbolt to do a lot of damage before we get hit with Lovely Kiss at the 2nd attempt and are put to sleep, which isn't ideal as Lorelei heals and then Jinx uses Attract, but Attract never becomes relevant though as we get 2 hit with Ice Punch without waking up. I send in Aerodactyl and we one-hit Jinx with Ancient Power. I'm hoping for an Omni Boost that we don't get. Last is Lapras. We do get an Omni Boost with Ancient Power, this time as we do massive damage, prompting the eating of the berry. We survive an Ice Beam, we connect with a Fly that does less damage than I hoped it would, and we're duly taken out with Surf. Venusaur comes in and ends Lapras with Razor Leaf. So that's one down, but I'm not hopeful of the rest. We shall see. Fighting Trainer Bruno is second. I begin with Venusaur and we face off with his first Onix. I immediately one-shot it with Razor Leaf, and that was never going to be the issue. Hitmonchan is second, and I go for Sleep Powder to put it to sleep and Leech Seed to start sapping its health because I doubt we're going to one-shot. I do land 2 Razor Leaves to put it on red health before it wakes up and Rock Tombs us to lower our speed. Bruno heals, we do start attacking again. We do get hit with a Sky Uppercut, but a crit Razor Leaf and Leech Seed damage takes it out. Hitmonlee is third, it outspeeds and one-shots us with a crit Mega Kick. Oh dear. I send Aerodactyl in, we go for Fly versus Hitmonlee, and then when the move connects, we one-shot. Machamp is fourth, we go for Fly again, but it goes to Bulk Up while we're in the air, and then survives the move quite well. We then get one shot with a crit Cross Chop, and I think my best option here is Hitmonchan, so I send him in. We go for a Bulk Up, but get hurt badly by Cross Chop, before a crit Sky Uppercut takes Machamp out. I think the Bulk Up might have saved us there. Last is Onix, who barely survives Sky Uppercut and takes Hitmonchan out with Earthquake. I send Omastar in, Bruno heals and we take it out with Surf. 2 down. Poison Trainer Agatha is third, and I hope she's not going to be her usual irritating self. She begins with Gengar number 1 and Jolteon blasts it with Thunderbolt before she goes for Double Team. Gengar then survives Shockwave and hits Shadow Punch. Agatha heals, we land another Shockwave and Thunderbolt to put Gengar back on red health, but we get hit with both Confuse Ray and Toxic, which not ideal, especially as we hit ourselves in confusion. We do take Gengar out with Shockwave though. We manage to blast Golbat with Thunderbolt to take it down in one hit, and Arbok is third. Jolteon is nearly down, but does the rest of the team a solid as we take out over half Arbok's health with Thunderbolt and paralyse it before going down to Iron Tail. Omastar comes in, and although Arbok survives Surf and hits another Iron Tail, we can tank it and take it out with Bite. We get incredibly lucky versus Haunter, as Omastar is outsped twice, but Haunter misses Hypnosis twice, and we can take it out with a pair of Bite attacks to put us into battle with Gengar number 2. This time, we do get hit with Hypnosis, and I switch into Aerodactyl. We get hit with a Shadow Ball, land a Fly to do over half Gengar's health in damage, which is a good thing, but then Aerodactyl gets put to sleep. I switch into Lapras to try and Perish Song Gengar, but we also get put to sleep with Hypnosis. We do get hit with Nightmare, but wake up the next turn and do use Perish Song. It was unnecessary though, as we strike out with Surf, we crit the Surf and we take the Gengar down. It is good to have a Perish Song option though, just in case. Dragon Trainer Lance is fourth. He begins with Gyarados and I send in my Lapras, who I think will be useful in this fight. We get hit with Dragon Rage and strike Thunderbolt, which Gyarados unfortunately survives. Lance heals, we use another Thunderbolt, but we also get hit with Hyper Beam to lose over half our health before taking it out with Thunderbolt. Aerodactyl is second, I want Lapras to remain alive for the moment, and so I switch into Omastar. I know exactly what Aerodactyl is trying to do because it's what I'd be trying to do. We do get hit with 3 Ancient Power attacks, but thankfully we can survive them. We don't have much health left, but can 2-shot Aerodactyl with Surf. Dragonair number 1 is next, we get outsped and taken out with Outrage. Hitmonchan is quite special defensively bulky, I send that in and bulk up twice. Unfortunately, Dragonair fights through confusion and uses Thunder Wave, not ideal. It wastes its only other chance to attack while going for Safeguard, and we one-shot with Sky Uppercut. Dragonite is fourth, it lands Wing Attack, but we barely survive. I think I have the 2 bulk ups to thank there. We counter with a Rock Slide that does about 3/4 of its health in damage before we get taken out with Outrage. I send Lapras in, we tank Outrage and take Dragonite down with Ice Beam. Dragonair number 2 outspeeds, It hits Dragon Rage, but we survive and take it down with a crit Ice Beam. This has gone way too well so far, considering we're quite under-leveled by this point. And now the champion fight. I wonder if this is where it all comes crashing down. We shall see, I guess. Jolteon faces Pidgeot at the start for what seems like the 1000th time. We land a Thunderbolt to do massive damage. We get hit with Aerial Ace, but Rod heals and we do decent damage with Shockwave. Before we can take Pidgeot out though, he switches into Rhydon, prompting a switch of our own into Venusaur. We get badly hurt by Earthquake, but we can one-shot with Razor Leaf. This is where I regret not teaching Venusaur Giga Drain. Alakazam is next. It goes for Future Sight, but we land Leech Seed. I try to go for Sleep Powder, but we get finished off with Sidekick. I send Aerodactyl in and go for Fly, but Alakazam uses Reflect, which not ideal at all, particularly now as Fly doesn't do much damage. We then get locked into a Fly and Recover cycle, which is pretty annoying, but I guess it beats attacking us the other way because I don't fancy our chances of surviving repeated Psychic attacks. We do have to take a Psychic eventually, as the Reflect goes down, and Fly misses where it would have taken it out, but we do take it out on the next effort with Fly. Gyarados is next. We strike an Ancient Power, but it only does about a quarter of its health, and we get taken out with Hydro Pump. Jolteon comes in and takes out the wounded Gyarados with a Thunderbolt, and then Pidgeot is the one that emerges next, and another Thunderbolt takes that down. Executor is next. We hit Pin Missile, but it only lands twice, useless bloody move, and only does about a fifth of its health, despite being quad effective. We get put to sleep with Sleep Powder and blasted with Egg Bomb. We wake up, we miss Pin Missile, thanks, and then get taken out with Giga Drain. I don't have fantastic options for Executor now. I send Hitmonchan in and Rock Slide doesn't do a lot of damage. I do bulk up, but we get hit with Sleep Powder and, unfortunately, we don't wake up. And, while we are asleep, we get taken out with 3 Giga Drains, which restores most of Executor's health. Things are going really bad now. I send Lapras in, we get badly hurt by Giga Drain, but then put Executor on red health with Ice Beam. We then get locked into a cycle of the rival using full restores and us landing Ice Beams to take out most of that health again. About the only saving grace being that the leftovers are healing us slowly as this happens. It goes on for several turns until Executor misses Sleep Powder and we can finish it off with Ice Beam. We probably have lost the battle if that Sleep Powder had landed. Charizard is last. It's time for Perish Song as we tank a Fire Blast on red health. I figure Omastar can probably survive a few rounds with Charizard, barring an unlucky crit. Lapras goes down to Slash and I send in Omastar. Fire Blast does about a quarter to a third of our health, but Surf is more than capable of hurting it the other way, and 2 Surfs take down Charizard to give us the win. The Perish Song wasn't even necessary after all that, and with that we can go on in and enter the Hall of Fame with my team of gift Pokemon. Well, I didn't expect it to go that. Well, smoothly isn't the right word I guess, but we made it through, we made it out alive. Thanks for watching folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Hey, I did tentatively pass 300 subscribers, but it's very fluctuational, so I've not been shouting about it because I feel like I'm just one day away from 2 subscribers vanishing, so no point celebrating. Join me again next time for another Pokemon challenge as I see if I can beat Pokemon Emerald with a single Marrow. Like I said earlier, it's probably going to be interesting for sure. It feels like ages since I did an Emerald challenge, so it will be good to get back into the Hoenn saddle. I do know I've got a good Oras challenge lined up for this year in Hoenn, well, in theory anyway, but no idea when that will be. Anyway, jumping off here folks, so going to say farewell, see you on the next one, bye!